Hello, everyone. How are all my fellow travelers? I hope you are well. And I hope you have a drink because I'm going to read a short story today that is a bit longer than I usually read. I think it's like, 32, 33 pages? Something like that. But all right. Here we go. So get comfy, get a drink. I've got my coffee and my cat. You're beautiful. It's called A Summer Day in 1976. A lot of people have tried to pack into the church. Men are dressed in black with somber ties wrapped around their necks like nooses. Their dress shoes polished to a high reflective shine. The looks on their faces are as serious as their suits. There is one gentleman, though, who really stands out. I have no idea who he is, but that brown suit he's wearing looks way too big. He looks like one of us kids, except he's got a bright green tie covered in palm trees. And God bless him, he's wearing the biggest grin I've ever seen. He is truly happy to be here. I can't think why. The ladies, of course, are not to be outdone by a bunch of men, or each other. They look oh so grand in their black linen and silk chiffon dresses, each adorned with very sparkly brooches. In fact, they sparkle from the top of those funny little hats with the veils to the tips of their black high-heeled shoes. I'm telling you, sitting in church is a bit like sitting among the stars. They are sparkling something fierce. It's very impressive and blinding. But being one of four girls, I noticed these things. Unfortunately, it means I, too, must wear a dress. Ugh. A frilly, itchy, ugly dress with white ruffles. Oh, dear God. How girly can you get? I'm 11 years old. 11, and I'm wearing ruffles. Well, at least we girls get to sit together. This way we get to gossip about everybody or everyone here and seriously discuss what they are wearing or shouldn't be wearing. Well, except for the guy in the green tie. We like him. The air is a bit warm in here, even with the AC on. It's quite flavorful, too, with all the different perfumes and aftershaves. Combine that with bad breath and, ugh, somebody's body odor. You have a cocktail that can knock the fleas off a dog's back. It might be a big church, but it's having a bit of trouble containing the stink. Who are all these people anyway? Did Uncle Dale have that many friends? I don't see how. He's always been mean to us. Ah, maybe they want to make sure he's truly dead. Why not? I looked. I wanted to know. Although, I'm still not certain. I mean, it doesn't really look like him. Honestly, if I didn't have to be here, I wouldn't. The unfortunate side of being 11. He was just so mean. He would say horrible things to us and about us. Okay, some of it we may have deserved, like laughing at him falling inside on Nanny's front door. Everybody knows. She polishes her wood floors at the beginning of each month and every holiday. They also know she has this old rag rug that just sits in front of the front door for folks to wipe their feet on. And yes, It could be slippery on those occasions. But we all know such was the case that particular day. The kids made it through okay, we kids. But then in comes Uncle Dale, running his mouth, complaining about someone like always. He took one step onto that rug, and the next thing you knew, rug and feet were flying. It had to have been a good 4 feet off the floor. Now, I don't know if it really was the force of hitting the hard floor that caused the air to turn blue, but the words that escaped his mouth were unparalleled. Men at sea would be embarrassed. Our adolescent brains couldn't handle it. We were laughing so hard we were unable to stand upright. Of course, we were kicked outside. Apparently, dogs and rotten brats belong outside. Even outside, you could hear him. Our Uncle Dale was performing a fine example of what cussing up a blue streak means. But I guess these fine people here in this grand church wouldn't know anything about that. I wonder if they know about his false teeth. Oh, Lord, I remember the first time I found out. It scared the crap out of me. Well, out of us. Well, near enough. Uncle Dale and Aunt Mary really aren't our aunt and uncle. He's Nanny's uncle. They lived on the other side of Germantown Road, and Nanny lives on the south side of Richmond. It must be a long way, because every week when they would come to visit Nanny, he would have to sit in the car and take a nap before he could come in. He called it resting his eyes. Well, he could call it what he liked, but asleep is what it was. It was on one such occasion that we nearly got the scare of our lives. They had arrived on a very hot Saturday afternoon. We had already been sent outside to play so we could pull up, so we could sit. We saw when they pulled up. Aunt Mary got out and went in as she usually does. Personally, I think she liked having just a few minutes away from him. As usual, he sat there, window down, glasses on the dashboard, eyes closed. Originally, we didn't have a plan. It kind of evolved out of an I dare you. Nanny's yard has a small strip of grass on the far side of the driveway that butts up to her neighbor's driveway. It was this strip of grass that we had migrated to. All the better to see him and make our uniformed dare. It was also the strip of yard that had the most white clover. Now, I'm sure any of you who live in the South know summertime means your yard is covered in dandelions and clover. By this time, we could clearly hear him snore. The beautiful thing about a snore is that it can't be performed with the mouth closed. I just want to take this opportunity to say that I am a very bad shot. I don't usually hit my target. I also can't turn down a dare. I mean, who can? So, armed with as big a handful of clover as I could hold, I proceeded to shoot clover at the man's gaping mouth. Sorry. Did I mention I'm a bad shot? I hit everything but his mouth. The man was covered in clover. However, I was not alone in my endeavor. One of our number actually hit the target, waking him up. He sputtered and gagged. We stood holding our breath, trying not to giggle, until he started to choke, and his face turned red, beet red. Now we were getting scared. We didn't want to kill the man. He lurched forward, forcefully hitting the steering wheel, and out flew a tiny white clover. He took a deep breath. So did we. He looked up at us, spit running from his chin and a look of terror in his eyes. Anger quickly followed. Then he opened his mouth again. He unleashed an entire encyclopedia of cussing on us in the most unearthly octaves. No foul word was spared. Then, without warning, right in the middle of the F word, his teeth fell out. I mean, out. Kind of like mine now. The fear of God fell on us. A scream forced its way out of our bellies, through our mouths, into the muggy summer air. Our chicken legs flew into the house. This, in turn, scared the hell out of Nanny and Aunt Mary. We all tried to speak at once, and yet no one could. Eventually, Nanny got the story out of us. We were sent to the side porch where we couldn't do any more harm until dinner. We could think about what we had done, but we barely got the door shut when we heard laughter. The two of them laughing at us. How were we to know his teeth weren't real? I mean, really. Uncle Dale was sore about this for quite some time. He would grumble under his breath about us damn kids every time he saw us. For a while we kept our distance. But we are kids. And in all fairness, we did not start it. By now, it was the middle of October. The days were growing cool and crisp. Our mother would have sent us outside, but without a second thought. Nanny, however, was another generation that believed our uncovered heads would lead to pneumonia. So, most Saturday afternoons when we visited, we found ourselves on her screen porch with its tiny crank windows. We didn't mind since she kept spicy true crime magazines under the copies of Good Housekeeping in baskets on the floor. These were under a table between the old lounge chair and a very uncomfortable patio chair. The lounger had overstuffed cushions big enough for all four of us to huddle up on. So we did, along with the true crime stuffed inside the Good Housekeeping. We really thought we were slick. No one would ever know. So there we sat, waiting for dinner, taking turns reading in whispered voices so as not to get caught. Engrossed in our story, we never heard cars pull up or doors slamming shut. The sound of voices never met our ears. So entrenched were we that we never noticed the figure at the door peering through the curtains. I whispered loudly, "Look, lady, you can tell us where your husband is hiding, and we might go easy on him, see? But we have to find him ourselves. It could be very bad for him. And you, capiche?" We were gasping, clutching our magazines, when we heard a scratching at the door. Eyes as big as saucers. We looked up to see Uncle Dale, face pressed to the glass, piggy nose and all. In a deep voice he said, "What are you kids doing?" With some weird half-girl, half-hyena sound, we screamed, ripping that good housekeeping. He turned out the biggest belly laugh I have ever heard come out of him. Honestly, I might have thought it might have been the only laugh I've ever heard come out of him. We just sat there staring in disbelief. He laughed so hard he was crying. As he wiped away the tears, still laughing and pointing at us, his teeth fell out. He muttered something too low for us to hear. It was our turn to laugh, but our laughter was short-lived. As he bent over to retrieve his teeth, he whacked his head on the door. We heard a loud thump, followed by a rush of feet and voices that we didn't recognize. Jumping up from our little whirl, we ran to the door. "Don't open that door!" someone yelled. Oh, dear God, was he dead? We heard the shuffling of feet move away from the door, but we were too terrified to look. I don't know how long we stood there, but it seemed like forever. When the door finally opened, a woman whom we'd never met told us it was dinner time. "Is he still alive?" we ventured. "Of course he's still alive, you silly child." Then she stopped and looked right at us and very sternly said, "You children need to be a lot nicer to him. He is old, and next time he might not be all right. Didn't your mother teach you to respect your elders?" We just stood there, stunned. "Well, go wash your hands and get ready to eat." She pointed to the bathroom. Suddenly, we found our feet. The problem with hunkering down on the porch is that you miss anything going on in the house. In this case, it was full of people. Strange, unfamiliar people with their equally strange offspring, one of which kept picking his nose and trying to wipe it on all of us. Ugh. During dinner, we learned that Uncle Dale had a sister named Doris. And Doris had 3 children who in turn had, well, too many. Children who, at present, were getting food all over Nanny's house and feeding Susie, her chihuahua. We also learned that Doris had just died, and they were here at Nanny's to make something called arrangements, which apparently takes a lot of talking, arguing, and crying. At this point, I should mention that we 4 girls have a little brother, but he's only 4 and, well, a boy. The only time we really have anything to do with him is when he's being a pain in the butt, or someone is picking on him, which is often since he's such a little worm.